Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 116. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Jürgen Schmechel. Over the past 24 years, Jürgen realized that he and his wife are doing things differently in their marriage from others. Some of their behavior was conscious, some more on the unconscious level. And with this more and more relationship around the world deteriorating, Jürgen decided to bring his wisdom and coaching to people. His mission is to inspire thousands of men yearly to stay in loving, respectful relationship. Hello, Jürgen.
Hi, Patience. How are you?
I'm good. I know the clan is anxious to hear your story, so let's start with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, what you did before you started your own online relationship business?
Yes, I'm more than happy to. I'm 57 years old, married for more than 24 years. I've got two boys, 23 and 22, 18 months apart. Originally, I'm from Germany, Hamburg, Germany. It's not so far away from London. And my German accent is still valid even in Australia after living here for 13 years and becoming an Australian. And for over 30 years, I've consulted to businesses in the regards to workflow, reporting, and numbers. So I'm a numbers person. And for 30 odd years, I've done this very successfully. And that's very much left brain business, isn't it? So, and then beginning of this year, I was actually sitting in a meditation class. I did a 10-day meditation retreat. And well, you know how meditation goes. Sometimes there are thoughts coming up in your mind while you're trying to empty your mind. So thoughts coming up left, right, and center, and I'm pulling the thoughts back in. But on day 6 of this 10-day retreat, an epiphany came to me thinking, I've seen so many relationships going bust in Australia, in Germany, around the world, and it's even getting worse. So and later I then looked at the statistics, and it's somewhere between 40 and 50% now that marriages are getting divorced, and the average time is even just 8.5 years. So while I was there sitting and meditating, I thought, with my relationship to my wife, I've got something special here. And if I could bring a message to the world about do's and don'ts within a relationship, then maybe I could save a couple of relationships from deteriorating. Because there are rules and there are behavior which we fall into, which are not serving us in a relationship. So that's how I started, and I haven't looked back since, because it's just such an amazing journey and very rewarding to talk to men and women and help them, defining their relationship anew and having more fun and a more prosperous relationship.
What a journey! I know you said many relationships are ending nowadays. More than 20 to 40 years ago. What do you think is happening nowadays?
There are so many factors, but let's just start with the factor we all are under so much pressure. So the job is not 9 to 5 anymore; it's 7 to 8 or 8 to 7, and the job demand is putting pressure on us. Then we have mortgages to pay, another financial burden, and nowadays people are always striving for fulfillment, but not connecting. They connect with their iPhone and their Blueberries and Blackberries, and computer and internet. That's what's occupying their mind instead of connecting with the person right next to them. So I see a tendency that people are bogged down in their job, under pressure from everywhere, and then internalizing this pressure and not talking, and thereby losing contact to your spouse.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because I know nowadays we have, both partners, they have to be working. Everyone is under pressure. So what do you suggest they should do?
So the first thing is, let's go back a little bit. Let's step back a bit here, because what I think makes successful relationships are three pillars. It's quality time, it's talking, and it's intimacy. So if you think back of the time when you were dating, you were on the phone each day, at least for 15 minutes, maybe even an hour, chit-chatting, flirting, and eager to look forward to the next Friday or next Saturday when you saw each other again. So then on that Friday, you spent quality time. So you went to a restaurant, you went to the movies, and of course, talked a lot, talked very, very deeply, and eventually you even ended in bed. So now you move together, and the whole thing flips, because now you think you don't need to work on each other, on your relationship anymore. You don't think that you need to behave in a certain way. You stop talking, you stop having an appointment, because I see you tonight, darling. So you live together, but the quality time goes down and the talking reduces, and eventually also the intimacy reduces. So there's a gap building, and this gap is because we are not talking. So over time, you're coming home and you're not talking, and you switch on the television instead of talking. So the gap widens, and eventually you don't even know what your spouse is up to, and then we have a chasm which splits the relationship.
Wow.
So you've asked for my recommendation. My recommendation is to have appointments with your wife or with your spouse. I've called them active appointments, because the passive appointment, that's happening naturally. You go to bed at the same time, you wish each other a good night, and in the morning you get up at the same time, hopefully. But there is nothing really to look forward to. But how about you put an appointment in your calendar for next Friday, taking your spouse out for a nice restaurant? And it does not need to be a fancy restaurant. It can just be the pizza bar around the corner. So my recommendation is take 10% of what you're paying weekly for rent and spend that money on your relationship. So let's say someone is spending $600 of rent per week. Take $60. So that gives you, if you have kids, that gives you maybe 2 hours of a babysitter, and then you can go out and watch the movies.
Okay. So you instead of active appointments, these are called dates. Maybe
yes,
dates
you
with
can
your
call
partner.
them dates. I've coined the term active appointment to make this very, very clear that it's a different from the passive appointment, which happens naturally.
Okay, all right. We just wanted to make sure we're on the same page as you, because when you say active appointment, it's like appointment is like when I'm going to see my doctor or someone else. So okay, active dates. So everyone knows their dates.
But your comparison to the doctor is not bad, patients, because when I do this with my wife, we put this appointment in our calendar, and nothing can come between that.
You have to make sure you attend. So take it really, make sure it is important.
Yeah, exactly, and that's so we put it in the calendar, and then it's happening. Come rain or hail or snow.
Well, it must be you have been doing something good if you have been married for the last 24 years. So something might have been really happening. So anyway, why are you focusing on men only, not women? Are women doing better than men? Why only men?
No, I don't think that women are doing better necessarily, but I found that women are more responsive to these kind of offers, and there are already so many services for women out there. But the men are hardly heard. There is hardly anybody looking after men these days. So the woman goes out to have a chit-chat about their relationship, and then she's coming home with all these fancy ideas, and he just thinks, oh, what's this up to again now? And whereas he has no avenue to go to and no resource to go to find solutions for himself. And the pressure we men put ourselves under is a different pressure from what the women are putting themselves under. And being a man myself, I speak their language. So that's why I thought if I focus on men, they need me. They need help in seeing where they are and changing things.
Wow. But can anyone really make this happen? Because I see you can save marriage, but can you really save it when it is like there is no, these three pillars you talked about, intimacy, talk, and quality time? What can you do?
Look, I can't, I'm not a magician. I can't save every relationship. And to be quite honest, sometimes a divorce is better than living in a lie. So if it's deteriorated and to its breaking point, then it's better to realize that it is at a breaking point and then to move on instead of holding on, clinging on to it just for because what would the neighbors say, or we need to be together because of the kids. But the kids are clever. They know exactly what's going on, and they don't like you to be unhappy. And so I'm saying the earlier you realize that your relationship has no future and you get out of it, the younger you are in finding a new partner.
But
yeah.
But then suppose you find a new pattern and then you are taking that behavior you came from with the other relationship into the new partner. So how do men learn to really get new ideas out there?
No, you're absolutely spot on. That's why I want to serve them and tell them, look, this is what you've done wrong in your last relationship. If you take this into your new relationship, it won't last. Because I see the same thing as you just said. When people don't change, they take their own behavior into the next relationship and then have the same outcome in the next relationship.
Wow. Okay, what are the typical issues in any relationship?
The typical issues are around finance. People, especially men, even nowadays, think they are the provider for the family. So that's their urge. They want to be the provider. They want to earn the money. But with that, they put themselves under pressure. Then the mortgage comes into it, and maybe a new car or the next holiday. So they are constantly in the rut to provide money. And at the same time, they are not doing the money talk with their spouse. So a typical error is here not to talk about money. The other ones, as I said, are stop talking, to have the television on at breakfast time. So nowadays, at breakfast, the television sits at the breakfast table, and then it sits again at the lunch table, and then it sits again at the dinner table. And to make matters worse, you have a television in your bedroom.
Well, I think maybe some people want to catch up on news. So you don't suggest that people should have a television in their bedroom?
No, definitely no television in your bedroom, because the bedroom is there for sleeping and for cuddling. Just imagine you are just had a nice cuddle with your spouse, and then he turns around and says, "Oh, let's see whether the second half of Liverpool against Manchester is still on."
I don't know. I don't like sports, so I don't think I'll appreciate that.
Yeah. But on the other hand, he wouldn't appreciate if you would turn around and say, "Let's see whether ER is still on and still going." And so I think we are bombarding ourselves with this technology which we have at our fingertips. And that's another error many relationships, many couples do, is they never put their phone on silent. So they go into a restaurant, they even have a date night, and then they're sitting a meter away from each other, connecting to the world around on Facebook, talking about, oh, what a nice dinner they just have, instead of putting the phone away and talking and relating to the person right next to them.
You talk about money versus sex. First of all, let me ask you, is this your course geared to people who are already in a relationship, or this can help also people who are newly going to new relationship, who are single out there looking? Or
Yes, so my coaching and service is geared to men either in a relationship and realizing that they are on the downward spiral, or for men who are single, either haven't found a partner yet or are divorced and a new single, because in any case they are learning do's and don'ts and behavior which is beneficial for their relationship.
Wow.
And women are more attracted to a man who has a sense of what's going on in a relationship and has ideas about how he wants the relationship to pan out. They would score higher with the girls, definitely.
You talk about money versus sex. Anyway, money, now you are going to a new relationship. When should you talk about money? Because if you be like, what if I start talking about money, this one is not going to stay here listening about money. Or it is like going on a day and they're like, actually, I want 6 children. I don't think the person who's there is going to stay long. They'll be like, no.
Yes, yeah. No, yeah, definitely not on the first or second date you're talking about money. But I think when the decision comes whether you want to move together, so out of dating and so out of flirting and swiping Tinder, and a relationship evolves. So you're dating and you're only dating one person. So it's getting a more and more serious relationship. So maybe after 3 months or after half a year, you would say, oh, honey, it's fantastic with you. How about we move together and save one rent and build something from here. And at that stage, you should talk about money.
What are don'ts and don'ts about talking about money then on that day?
So you need to lay out how you want your relationship to pan out. So take this as an example again. Both are renting their own flat. So now they are moving together. And usually the case is one of them is vacating their flat and moving in with the other person. So is this person now taking part in paying the rent? And surely they should. And how do you do about groceries? And if you go to the restaurant, so do you have a kitty then where you both put money in, which I think that that's the best way. So each of them keeps their own bank account, but they have a new bank account which is it's there for their common expenses like rent, like groceries, travel, you name it.
But one might be traveling more than the other. So if I'm moving in with somebody who's traveling more and I'm just walking to my work, I think this kit is going to really take a bit of pinch of my money. So
yeah. But here we go. So I don't have the one size fits all solution for that kind of thing. But exactly this is a point which needs to be raised, because if you feel that he's then living on your money, then obviously you need to talk about this and say, all right, you need to pay your travel out of your own pocket because I'm going to work by foot.
Okay, but one more problem comes here now. I don't want my family, they might be liking him already, and then my neighbors and my cousins, everyone, and then I'll be like, if I try now pushing this, he might leave, and then I don't think I will be really staying on my own. So this comes pressure to say, oh, I need to just keep quiet and leave everything, stay afloat. So what advice do you give that people who are in that stage whereby something is not right, but they are keeping it quiet to keep the neighbors and the friends and the families happy? What advice do you give them?
The question is what kind of dimension this it doesn't feel right is. Because the truth, what a lot of couples are doing, they try to change the other person. And we all know you only can change yourself. So by moving together or even marrying, you don't have the automatic right to change the other person. So if it's a minor flaw you see in the other person, you might raise that point and say, oh, I would really appreciate if you would take care of such and such, and then see whether the other person is reacting and changing or not. But if it's a trust issue, if you don't trust this other person, again, I'd rather say end your relationship when you see this kind of issue arise, instead of trying to make something work where your gut saying this will never work. But getting back to your scenario that someone in your circle of concern might not like your partner or have a problem with your partner, then of course you need to make sure how loyal are you to your partner, because you know there is a circle, there's an inner circle of influence. So that's where you have a direct influence on the outcome in the relationships with the people around you. But then there's a wider circle of concern which concerns you, but you don't have any influence. So as an example, the Brexit is a concern for a lot of British people, but it's outside of their influence. So how much do you let something out of the circle of concern influence your relationship? So if your uncle does not like your new partner, do you really care?
It's family.
Yeah, yes, but that's another thing which I see a lot of new couples neglect, that you are always coming with baggage. So you come with a past experience, and you need to talk about this. So nobody comes into a relationship as a white sheet of paper. There is so much in your history, and that's why I say talking and quality time is so important in a relationship, because when you have the quality time and you have the trust and you do the talking, things like this comes up.
Wow. Okay. I always thought garbage was just children, so I didn't realize now garbage have now gone to extended families and friends. Thank you for clearing that. I got it wrong. All right. Okay. Tell us more about the trust and the bank account. You talk about that in relationships.
Yes, that's a term which Dr. Stephen Covey started in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He's talking about an emotional bank account. So when you build trust, the easiest or best way to build trust is to keep promises. So if in the morning you say, I take care of the dinner tonight, you don't have to worry about this, and then come home and not preparing the dinner, that's a break of trust. So, but instead, if you then do and prepare the dinner, then obviously you kept a promise. So this is a payment in inverted comma. It's a payment into your emotional bank account. So the more promises you keep, the more the trust rises. And then if, let's say you've done this 100 times, keeping promises small or large, and then one day you're breaking one promise because something came in its way, then because you have already done so much good and your emotional bank account has so much on the credit side, that this small debt then doesn't break the bank. So that's the idea behind it. So there are small deeds, but these small deeds are adding up. And women especially are gauging a man by the small deeds he does. Does he take the garbage out? Does he do something from the weekly chores at home in terms of washing or going shopping or do cooking? All those things. And who's looking after the kids? Who's picking up the kids from kindergarten or from the nanny? And those things, that's over time building your trust and your relationship.
Well, if anyone out there listening, for me, I like flowers. So no more kindergarten children. Okay. Now, don't listen and take it on. Okay. You said you want to save 100 marriages per year in Australia. Why Australia only?
It's not necessarily Australia only, but well, you need to have a goal, and you have to visualize these goals. As you know, in any success journey, you have goals and steps to get to these goals, and therefore I said 100 marriages in Australia. It could be in the US or in the UK. It could be in Germany. I'm just humbled and delighted if I could make a difference in people's lives and save a marriage. Yes.
Okay. Tell us more about your new business, your 8 weeks online course, Inspiring Relationships.
So I've started Inspiring Relationships, and I've realized after working with a couple of couples, I've worked with a couple of couples, and realized that it's a different story for the men than for the women. So that's where I then decided I want to work with men and started to do one-on-one coaching. But one-on-one coaching can only go that far because it's my time, and I can only serve so many people in my time, and also it's more expensive. So obviously it's more expensive. So I thought if I can tailor this whole thing into an 8-week online course, which I call a mentoring course, then I can help someone who sits even in the UK or in Canada or in the US, because the time zone then does not make any difference. All they need to do is purchase this online course, and they get then one email per week delivered with videos and tips and tricks and homework, which then helps them to realize which state they are in their relationship and what to do about it.
Now this is worrying me. Are men not going, men don't focus. I don't know if it is just a stereotype that men don't focus. Are you sure these men are going to really read this course and focus on how to solve their marriage? Because I thought one-on-one you help them and they will ask you questions. So how is this coaching going to help these men really get out there and be confident and find a respectful relationship or stay in respectful relationships?
Yes. I first off need to disagree with you. I think men can very, very well focus. Just imagine them sitting in front of a computer game. Their focus is 100% on that computer game. So what men can't do, and to a certain extent, women can't do this either, but men can't do multitask. So you can't talk to a man who's playing a computer game. If you want to talk to a man who's sitting on the computer playing a computer game, you need to walk up to the man, put your hand on his shoulder, and wait until he looks you in the eye. So you lock eyes, you have the eye contact, and then you can talk to this man, because then you have the focus. So back to your question, if a man is in a relationship which does not serve him, and his urge is to change it, so he's eager enough to change something, then he will focus on my online course. If he just signs up to it because he thinks that's fancy and nice, then obviously reading or listening to this online course wouldn't change a thing. But the more people are focused, the better the results. So I see there is what I call a love circle. It's a little bit like the property circle, cycle. I mean, there's a love cycle, and it starts with you search for someone new, then you find them. So that's the new love side, the phase. Then you have the dating phase, and then you have the move together phase, and then you have the happy phase. So in during that time, men probably won't sign up for my course because everything goes for them. But after the happy phase in the love cycle, we have the routine, which sets in. And that could easily then set into boredom. And then you stop talking, that's the next phase. And then you start fighting, which again is the next phase. And then you start counseling, because eventually you want to save it. And then the next phase then is end of the relationship. And then this love cycle starts afresh with search for a new one. So while you are in the routine, boredom, and fighting phase, that's where I can help you. Wow. Because that's where you realize something is amiss here. And I know that women are more sensitive about this, but men are similar, feeling something is not right.
Sorry, everyone who's out there as men saying, I'm saying you are not focused. I will just say covering all the women who think you are not focused. So I wanted him to clarify. So I'm still on your side.
No. We men can focus laser sharp on one thing at a time.
Okay, that is very good. In this course, are you going to have like support where they can send in their questions and they'll ask you while they are going on this 8 weeks course?
Definitely. It's including email support by me personally. Yes.
Okay, and where can we find this fabulous course and keep in contact with you?
Yeah. So my website is inspiring-relationships.com or .com.au. I say it again, www.inspiring-relationships.com. And my email address there's an email address called welcome at inspiringrelationships.com is my email address. So on the website you find this online mentoring course, sign up for that, and you receive emails with tips and videos and homework, and we take it from there.
But if anyone wants a one-to-one, you can still offer one.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, that's sitting on my website, and it's called coaching. The first one is called mentoring. This one is called coaching, one-on-one. And there I'm offering the first 2 sessions for free. The first session is a 17-minute evaluation call via Skype or Zoom, where I connect with the person and we find out how I can help them, how and if. And then from there, we go on a second coaching session, which is an hour. And in that, I already ruffle some feathers and give a lot of value where people can take immediately steps to help and save their relationship. And if they want then to continue, then we look at different package deals in terms of one-on-one coaching, which is then always sessions from about an hour via Skype and Zoom to make it easy.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. So, Clan, there will be more from Agan in a moment. If you are finding Agan's journey interesting and you are ready to hear more, come and listen to the full version of the interview at onlinesuccessjourney.com. If you're on Online Success Journey already, click on part 2 of Agan's journey and you'll get more tips to help you in your marriage, in moving into your new relationship. If you are single, so looking, he will help you as well to get tips to move forward. And don't forget, you can access all other online success interview podcasts on the site as well. That's a wrap, Clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Agan.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com. filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.